While they're taking that track with Biden, cover up, protect, Praetorian Guard, with trumpets, drop as many GD indictments as you can on the guy, no matter how stupid they sound, especially in Washington, D.C., we'll get them on something. We'll get them on something. This is why you're frustrated. This is why you're furious. This is why you've learned to despise Bill Barr. Now we have Bill Barr, who really is a reprobate. He's very angry that Trump fired him, and he's never gotten over it. You know, he was Attorney General under George H.W. Bush as a very young man. He's Attorney General a second time. Donald Trump fired him because he didn't think he was doing enough to investigate illicit campaign activity. He has every right to fire him. But Bill Barr was humiliated, I guess, embarrassed. It's never been done to him before. And he's been in a quote-unquote pissing match ever since. So he goes on TV, he's everywhere. He's on CBS, he's on ABC, he's on NBC, he's on CNN, he's all over Fox, he's everywhere. He's like Michael, what was that guy's name? Avenatti, if you will, in terms of his ubiquitousness. Because he's on a seek and destroy mission. So much so that he has defended the documents case against Trump, even though if you step back and say to yourself, you're prepared to put this man in prison for the rest of his life so he dies in prison over the documents case? Are you kidding somebody? And that case is a joke too, and for reasons I've explained, and I'm sure I'll have to explain again in the future. And then we have this case. You even have Andy McCarthy, Jonathan Turley on Fox saying it's a ridiculous case. But most of all, you have me telling you it's a ridiculous case. As I went through the statutes, I explained in each case the problem with them here, Fox, radio, and now these fellows have picked up on it because it's so ridiculous. And notice he wasn't charged with, as I also was the first to point out, with insurrection or any of the rest of the things the January 6th committee said he had committed, and commentators said, oh, absolutely. He's absolutely guilty of seditious conspiracy, but he's not charged with either. So he shouldn't be charged with anything. So Jack Smith's doing it because he's a Democrat, he's playing to the Democrats, he's playing to the media, and of course he knows what Biden wants. They all know this helps Biden. So Bill Barr's out there incoherently talking about the case, making no sense whatsoever. And then the question comes up, hey, Bill, why didn't you appoint a special counsel to investigate Hunter Biden? You know, you pick this U.S. attorney in Wilmington who's weak, who runs a relatively small U.S. attorney's office, and you say he's going to investigate Hunter Biden. But he never picked a special counsel. And let's hear why he says he never picked a special counsel, who would have had, as a matter of regulatory authority under the Department of Justice rules, the right to go into these different U.S. attorney districts without getting permission from the Attorney General of the United States. Following the investigation, wherever it leads, it could lead overseas to the Communist Chinese, to the Romanian government, to the prior Ukrainian corrupt government. He could have sought all those things, and potentially even Joe Biden. He could have looked into all that. But by not appointing a special counsel, Bill Barr, in effect, limited the authority of the investigation. So somebody finally calls him on it. Go.
I want to get your thoughts on Hunter Biden. On December 21st, your last day or nearly your last day in 2020 in the role of Attorney General, you said, I think it's being handled responsibly and professionally currently with the department. This is the Hunter Biden investigation. And to this point, I have seen no reason to appoint a special counsel. Do you believe a special counsel should be appointed now on the Hunter Biden matter, and do you regret not appointing one then?
No, because the
No, which to which? Should one be appointed now?
No. When I was the attorney, in order to appoint a special counsel, you have to have a conflict, or should have a conflict of interest. I had no conflict of interest investigating.
All right, hold on now. He was appointed by Donald Trump. Hunter Biden is the son of the incoming president. That certainly creates an appearance of a conflict of interest, which is what the statute says. They don't mean like a financial conflict or maybe you worked at the same law firms. I mean, that could certainly apply, but that's not the interpretation that this regulation, formerly the independent counsel statute, has been applied. I can tell you that as a former chief of staff to an attorney general. The conflict is not that you may individually have a conflict. I'll give you an example. When Janet Reno was attorney general, even though the independent counsel statute was in existence, the language is similar. She threw half a dozen investigations to Ken Starr. It's not because she personally had a conflict of interest, it's just that it didn't look right because she was Clinton's attorney general. And as Clinton's attorney general, she said, I can't really investigate all these things that have to do with Clinton. I have to give it to an independent counsel. It drove Bill and Hillary Clinton nuts. So Bill Barr here is doing what? He's tap dancing. I did not have a conflict of interest, so why wouldn't? So why would I appoint a special counsel? Go ahead.
If there was a conflict, it would be Garland's, and he had to make the decision when he took office as to whether or not it could be fairly handled in the department or whether or not a special counsel was necessary. I felt that if I prejudged that and preempted his decision, it would actually set things up that he would have probably, or the administration would have just canceled the...
No, they would not have canceled the... Can you imagine if Garland, coming into office, before all the headwinds came, fired the special counsel investigating Hunter Biden? That would not have happened. He's given this a lot of thought because he knew that one day somebody would ask him the question. This is what we call bullcrap. Go ahead.
Investigation. And I felt he would keep our U.S. attorney in place.
But he could have fired. These U.S. attorneys are appointed at the will of the President of the United States. They're nominated and they're confirmed. But every president has the right to fire every damn one of them within the first second of taking the oath of office. You might recall Bill Clinton did that. He blew out all the U.S. attorneys almost immediately. So the idea that he appointed this guy who's a U.S. attorney because he thought it was less likely that Biden would get rid of him, based on what? Based on nothing. Would have been less likely that Biden would have gotten rid of a special counsel who was specifically appointed to investigate his son. So this makes no sense whatsoever. Go ahead.
Came in, he had the responsibility of determining whether a thorough investigation was being done and was being done fairly.
So he passes the buck. He says, Garland, you happy with what you did there, Bill? It was Garland's responsibility to appoint a special counsel. Okay, Garland's free to appoint a special counsel too. But you made it easy for Garland not to appoint a special counsel. Does anybody know why? Because he gave the authority to the Wilmington U.S. attorney before he left office to investigate Hunter Biden. But he didn't have the full ability to investigate Hunter Biden because he wasn't a special counsel. He's limited to the District of Wilmington of Delaware. So Bill made it easier. They used Bill's imprimatur. Well, Bill didn't think it was necessary to appoint a special counsel, so why should I? We have this U.S. attorney, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, by the way, who's hemmed in, who can't investigate everything. That's what Bill Barr did. Am I being fairly clear? Go ahead.
Do you believe a thorough investigation has been conducted?
Well, I did agree with the House Republicans that there was a time where he should have appointed a special counsel.
Is that time passed?
Well, practically it may have passed because there's not very much time to get to the bottom of things unless Weiss has been doing it conscientiously. And we have to hear from Weiss as to what he's done.
The U.S. attorney in Delaware.
So in other words, according to Bill Barr, you know, time's kind of run the clock. Time's kind of run out. What does that mean? He means before the election? Well, you should still appoint a special counsel, election or no election, to get to the bottom of these things. Now, this is why I propose this morning on social media, and I'll talk about it again on radio as I have here now, that as soon as Trump or DeSantis or any Republicans elected, and I pray to God it's one of them, they need to appoint a special counsel to investigate Joe Biden. See, my theory is one of the reasons Joe Biden's running for president is it's the official position of the Department of Justice under Republicans and Democrats that you can't indict a sitting president. I happen to agree with that for reasons I get into another day. In other words, you can't have a chief executive, the one person who runs the executive branch theoretically, indicted, spending all his time defending himself, trying to stay free. And if he's convicted on a charge, he's sent to prison, then what? What if they don't impeach him? You're going to have a president serving from prison? It gets very complicated. And I took that and I said, well, what about a candidate? You can't have the president and his regime going after the candidate of the opposition party to do to him what should not be done to you. Even though he's not president of the United States, he can't possibly defend his liberty, his actual liberty, and run for president at the same time. Now, having said all that, I think Biden's running for president again for another reason. He doesn't want to be indicted. And as long as Garland's there, he's not even going to be investigated. There's no special counsel. That's why I call Garland the mob lawyer. He is Biden family's lawyer. He's a mob lawyer. He's not America's lawyer. He's not representing America's interests. So while they're taking that track with Biden, cover up, protect, Praetorian Guard, with trumpets, drop as many GD indictments as you can on the guy, no matter how stupid they sound, especially in Washington, D.C., we'll get them on something. We'll get them on something. This is why you're frustrated. This is why you're furious. This is why you've learned to despise Bill Barr.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to LevinTV.com and subscribe now.